From Screen to Shelf.
What is going on, folks? Welcome to another episode of From Screen to Shelf, the podcast about physical media, theatrical releases, home entertainment, everything in between. My name is Will. I am joined by my two colleagues, Gabe and Chase. As always, we are here today to talk about Christmas movies, our favorite Christmas films. We each have one movie that we're going to talk about in depth, and then we also have a secondary pick that we're each going to offer up that's kind of like a side recommendation to check out if you guys have the time during your busy holiday season. Everyone's probably out there shopping, buying gifts for the family, friends, probably people that you don't like that you have to get gifts for. So we're going to get into all those movies. But before that, though, we do want to give everybody an update. We want to talk a little bit about the Best Buy situation. We talked about this on a previous podcast, Best Buy exiting the game of physical media. We have an update on that we're going to get into right now and get that out of the way before we get to our festive movie picks. So, Chase, I don't know if you want to open this up and get into that, and we'll talk about what the latest update is on the Best Buy situation.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, right? It's been constantly changing because the biggest, most recent update is, some businesses gauge their Q1s differently, right? Some it's the end of the calendar year and some run until like the end of March. Really depends on the business and how they're scaling it. So Best Buy announced that they would be exiting at the around Q1, but recently, because a lot of people pre-ordered that Conan Chronicles because it dropped down, I think, like what, $42.99, $41. So a lot of people were pre-ordering that. Yeah, and before Amazon price matched it. So a lot of people have orders on there in that aspect. And now they have officially canceled all pre-orderable items and SKUs from January 1st onward that were on their site. And they just recently put those magnificently looking Disney 100 steelbooks down to $9.99, which quite a bargain for such a collector's item. I know. Steelbook of the year, right? So they're starting to clearance out a lot of things. So the end is nigh in that aspect, but it is not doom and gloom because a lot of what we would usually see as Best Buy exclusives is now becoming Walmart exclusives, which is kind of our talk track now, because we did kind of preface that in our state of physical media that Walmart's going to pick up a lot. And then we had some opinions on that. Highly recommend go check out that video, see what we said on that one. We don't want to kind of trek backwards. We want to trek forwards in this conversation. So in this aspect, I'm kind of looking forward to it to a degree. I've never shipped anything in that aspect from Walmart. I've always just gone in and grabbed it, checked to see if it was available locally because Walmarts are quite a bit more readily available than a Best Buy. So I'm excited, Walmart a lot more easily attainable to get to them. I'm just curious about the shipping. So I don't know if it's going to be an improvement or a downgrade. And then, Walmart's really good at clearancing things. So that's one of the biggest reasons I'm looking forward to it. So if a steelbook doesn't sell out, they'll clearance it sooner rather than later. But yeah, that's really all I really have to say about that outside of it's exciting to see it continue and not just fall off or become Amazon exclusive. That was my biggest worry was Amazon exclusivity just because of their shipping, their everything, just really wasn't looking forward to that being the possibility. I'm glad that a brick and mortar location picked it up. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll have to see how that kind of unfolds as we've been seeing the steelbook walls kind of pop up at some of the Best Buy or not Best Buys, Walmarts. And yeah, it'll be exciting because those prices still haven't dropped. They're still like $29 for some of those steelbooks.
Question is, are you guys brave enough to get it shipped? Or are you going to go inside? What are you guys going to do?
Now, that's
I
my
will do
worry
the
because I
trial.
was always, we're going to have to figure out what's going on, trial and error, so to speak. Well, I mean, I guess we'll hear about it once the first steelbooks start shipping, right?
But I'm asking who's going to
I've never.
volunteer to be the guinea pig, though? Like, who's
Oh,
going to?
Chase,
Oh,
of course.
Yeah, me, of course.
Come on, man.
Of course.
I'm
Always.
walking in. I mean, like, at least to me, I've actually had like 1 or 2 movies shipped from Walmart. I think it was the Harry Potter 4K set. I don't remember. They had like some weird sale like one day, and it was just like super cheap. And it arrived fine, but
The Amaray set, right?
yeah, just the Amaray set, not the Steelbook set. It's, but I know Walmart, man. Every time I go to my Walmart, at least like half the Steelbooks are freaking like dented, and the shrink wraps ripped off of them. Like it's too risky in my opinion, or it may be better getting it shipped. I don't know. Maybe you're not dealing with like employees just like slamming them on the shelves and throwing them in bargain bins. Because I can see that happening too. There'll be like those big $10 bargain bins. Like, oh, we'll throw all the Steelbooks in there and just oh god, my heart.
It doesn't look like a Steelbook anymore. It's just a ball of tin, at the top.
Yeah, man.
Because it's been heating up so much.
It's gonna look like an ornament. It's like an ornament you put on your tree.
You know what?
I'm curious how they're going to handle that.
Have you guys ever been to? There's a place called Entertainment or Movie Trading Company, and if a vinyl doesn't sell out, they'll make like a bowl out of it. That's going to be Walmart when they're sitting on all of those steel books,
melting down all the steel books.
They're going to take it to their local scrapyard.
Understand this? This is why like people like me collect steel books, because when the shit hits the fan one day and the world ends and we live in apocalyptic times, the steel books are going to be used as a bartering tool. Okay,
of course,
a currency.
We got to stop pretending that they're meaningless and not worth any of the money, because they have their place in history, and you'll see one day.
You can make a bulletproof vest out of them.
Go out on the way. Yeah,
Disney 100s, stock up while you can.
Yeah, Disney 100s. Yeah,
those were atrocious, by the way.
Yeah, those
masterpieces.
Say for the record,
what are they? They're $9.99 right now. Somebody said,
dude, I had them pre-ordered, the Star Wars ones, just because it's Star Wars and I'm a Star Wars junkie. And then when they released the artwork, I was just like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Cancel. Like, it's horrible. Yeah, I canceled it right away. I'm like, this is like the worst art I've ever seen.
Yeah. Have you guys seen what it's supposed to commemorate? It's like, apparently there's these like Disney treasures, collectibles and stuff like that, where it was literally like the same thing, a thumbnail, and it was pretty much the same font. That's what they're supposed to commemorate. But I think Will and I talked about this off air.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, because somebody had told me they were like trying to do like a callback to like, I don't know if it was a Blu-ray or a DVD collection that they had put out like many years back, but I don't remember that personally, but it just didn't make any sense. It's like to have the whole steelbook just be silver, and then you have this tiny little image of whatever the character. I mean, come on, like no one's going to pay money for that. The point of a steelbook is that you utilize the space that you have for that artwork, and they just went the completely opposite way. I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent about Disney, because they're such a fantastic company. But yeah, I to get back to the Walmart thing, I am curious how they're going to handle the so-called like collectors, because like you had a lot of people that were relying on Best Buy for exclusives, and now those same people, that crowd is now going to migrate over to Walmart, with news that they're doing the 4K Steelbook exclusives now. So I'm just curious how that's all going to go. I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions there, I guess, regarding the shipping and what that's going to be like. Gabe, you said you ordered from Walmart before. I personally, I will say this is weird, but they're the one retailer I've never ordered anything from. I've gotten stuff from Target, Barnes & Noble, Best Buy, everything else. I think everything I've ever purchased from Walmart has been in store. So that'll be an interesting thing to see, just how they handle that, especially I'm assuming that influx of volume they're going to get now that the so-called Best Buy crowd is going to migrate over. Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, Walmart is, they're pretty much the elephant in the room, I think, when it comes to DVD sales. And I believe we talked about this in our State of Physical Media episode, or one of the episodes back, that they account for most of the DVD sales. So I'm curious how that's going to translate over to 4K, because I'm not sure what their Blu-ray sales are like. I know they're known for DVDs and then Blu-rays second, but I'm just curious if they're going to kind of utilize that to their advantage to maybe try to push more 4Ks out there.
Maybe. I don't know. I still kind of I don't know how the transition is going to look, just because I like, you also have to think about the crowd that goes to Walmart too. I know there's going to be a migration right from Best Buy to Walmart, but it's like how many people want to make that transition, and then you just have the regular Walmart crowd. Where at least at my Walmart, they were stocking 4Ks, but like, you'd go in for a Tuesday, it'd be fully stocked, and then you'd go in a few days later and it's still fully stocked. Like no one's purchased a movie, and it's kind of mind-boggling. But yeah, they have those like DVD bins all the time, and I think that's what accounts. I think I saw a video somewhere where it was like that accounted for most of their sales, were just these huge DVD bins that was like, $5 a pop, and people would scoop up 2 or 3 of them on their way out. And I don't know if that's really going to change. At least in my opinion, I don't think that's going to change that much. I don't think their 4K sales are going to go up too much, but I could be wrong.
That might be an issue for them because, and I think Chase, I don't know if you said it since we started talking, but I've heard this said. I mean, this has been said a few times now, and I've heard it from different corners of the community, is that, if Walmart really wants to get people to get in there, they got to bring their prices down a little bit. That's the first thing I heard after the Best Buy transition was like, okay, well, these prices are still like, they're a little steep for some of the stuff that they were offering. And I've heard that a few different times. So I'm curious if they're going to make any adjustments moving into the new year, especially because, I mean, if you got to think about it now, they're one of the main players left in the game other than Amazon in terms of I guess you could say a nationwide distributor, right? Walmart has that kind of infrastructure. I mean, probably not on the same level as Amazon's, obviously, but they're in a similar position, right? Where they were getting into the studio distribution service. I don't know where that stands right now. I know they were in talks to kind of take over that market, or take over that distribution service for Universal and Warner Brothers. But I think they have to get a little more competitive with their pricing in order to really get people to want to shop there, as opposed to just ordering everything on Amazon, right? The exclusives are obviously enticing, but I mean, how is that really going to get people to go in there? I mean, because some of their exclusives, personally, out of the ones I've seen so far, I think it's Creep Show, and then they had, I want to say it's the Magnificent Seven, which are both Scream Factory. They're Scream Shout Studios now, I guess they rebranded, but those are exclusive to Scream Shout Factory. I haven't seen anything else really, at least mentioned or posted, other than those 2 titles. So I'm just curious how that's going to work, going into 2024. I know Amazon has some exclusives, but I haven't seen too many. But obviously, the pricing on Amazon is much more digestible, so to speak, from a consumer standpoint.
But they may also take advantage of that position, right? Because technically, if they're in terms of like a brick and mortar location, right? If they know that Best Buy is not doing it anymore, they may just say, screw it, let's just leave the prices the way they are. I mean, they kind of don't really have an incentive to change it, in my opinion, because the people that want the title are still going to go in there to get the title.
Right.
It's going to be a weird situation for sure. I'm still waiting for the whole Best Buy. Wasn't there supposed to be some big old Best Buy sale for all their physical media releases and all that good stuff? But they haven't said anything.
Oh, they don't got much time left. There's not much time left if they want to do that. I mean, I'm curious about, so the pre-orders that people had that were canceled, I'm assuming all those are just going to be, what are they, just refunding everybody? Because I never read into the details on any of that. I know they removed the listings, but I've heard some people online say, well, I had a pre-order for this, so how does that work? And I haven't gotten the credit back yet. There's no word of whether or not they confirmed that that's going to take place. So have they put out a press release or anything regarding that to your guys' knowledge?
No,
I haven't seen anything. No, I mean, it's so weird because I have the Best Buy card, the Visa credit card. So I always put my pre-orders on there. So, and they typically don't charge you till it ships. So I've never ironically paid like debit, because I know if you pay debit, it's right away. So I'd imagine they're just refunding everyone. I don't see any other option. I think if they offered a credit, people would be pissed off.
Yeah,
a credit
I know,
for
right?
what?
It's like, oh, now you're forced to use it. Yeah, I got the Best Buy card as well, but I haven't had anything on there. I think the last thing I purchased was actually was Mando. So that's the last thing I had put on that card. So
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I think Walmart, it's gonna be like what you guys said. It's just gonna be testing it out. seeing how people are getting their shipments, seeing, you know, what their in-store stock is like. And we'll know by the end of January, I'm sure, maybe early February, how Walmart's handling everything, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll probably do maybe like you were saying, Gabe, late January is sometime in February. Maybe we can do we'll have another update on that. You know, we'll know what things are looking like, you know, once we get to that point.
And by things are
yeah.
looking like, you mean like dented steel books to show off and
Exactly. Yeah.
Start collecting
Yeah, you know, we'll just
coasters.
have a pile of we'll just go through everything that's been damaged by Walmart shipping, and it'll be just like Best Buy all over again, maybe.
it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
But I think that's it. I mean, unless you guys have any other thoughts on that situation, I guess we can move on to I guess we can say that was the naughty part of the episode. We'll move on to the nice part of the episode, which will be discussing our favorite Christmas movies or Christmas movies that we decided to pick to share with each other and our listeners.
Yeah. Well, you guys want to start? I think Chase had one.
Yeah.
Pick your favorite, man. Favorite Christmas movie.
Yeah. So I'll go on a little bit of a tangent on this one. So I started thinking about it, and the one I'm about to present isn't my favorite. It's become like the one I'm not going to really be talking about because I really don't have much to add about it that already hasn't been said, is actually in my top 5 movies of all time, and that's Gremlins. That is something I watch every year. It is in my top 5 movies of all time.
Didn't you see the 35 millimeter of it? Like,
hell yeah, I did. Yeah. It was around this time last year. Oh, that was great. It definitely looked better than what we got. It wasn't like immaculate because there's a local place here that it's only like 1 or 2 in the entire area that will actually get those 35s and screen them. So it was a great time. It was packed. It was sold out, which was awesome. You know, seeing the love and appreciation for people wanting to support that in that manner. So that was really cool. But yeah, don't have much to add. I mean, most people have seen Gremlins at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't have a film study paper to give you about Gremlins. I just love it. And so I'm going to present to you, and it shocks me. Like, I know within our circles and stuff, a lot of people do know about this movie. I know before we went live, I kind of surprised you with how old this one I'm about to talk about, Gabe, because you thought I was talking about the one from 2019 that we don't speak about because it's awful. So the one dude, like, oh my gosh, like I remember going on like a 2-day long tirade after I watched that remake, and it has its own soul and heartbeat, and it's just skip the 2019 version of the movie I'm about to talk about. Even the 2006 version is great. I'm in the minority of that. I have that rare DVD, by the way, that one that's like super hard to find. I found it for $1 at Goodwill like 3 years ago.
Of course.
I was going to say, I think 2006 is, I was just going to say 2006, I feel like is coming around. Like people are starting to look, and maybe that's because of the 2019 interpretation. People are kind of looking back and saying, well, yeah, I guess that was pretty good now that we think about it compared to this. But why don't you mention the title before?
I was just about to say that.
Like everyone's getting curious at this point.
We've been very illustrious about it, but it is Bob Clark's very legendary and highly influential From the Shadows 1974 Black Christmas. This has become a movie since I saw it that has just become super near and dear to my heart. I watched it a couple of times within a few weeks after I watched it the first time, because very rarely do movies, when I go back and they aren't necessarily kept up with the times, do I go in and I actually feel a sense of frightfulness after watching it. This movie is actually terrifying. It does so many things well. It follows a sorority house with, in the most bare bones sense, where people essentially from the sorority start falling off. You know, they're dying, and then it's kind of a game of a whodunit to a degree, right? And is it revolutionary now? No, but a lot of people don't realize that this movie influenced a lot of modern slashers. And it is a Canadian horror film by Bob Clark, who I don't think he did a whole lot afterwards. I know he did the Super Diaper Babies. I know he did that. Yeah, he did the Super Diaper Babies movies. And so the way that the killer is presented to you in Black Christmas, the shots, the cinematography, the way that the lights and the lighting, the exposure, the effects, everything in it, and the voice of the killer will, if you watch that and you don't get like some tingles going up your spine hearing the voice calls, it's one of the most terrifying things in a movie. It really is. And I think it'll still get you today. And I only watched this maybe 4 years ago for the first time, and it got me. It's really, really good. This movie has become like an annual rewatch. I watch it every year on Christmas alongside Gremlins for my Christmas watch list. And it's just so fun. And Olivia Hussey, yeah, you just can't go wrong with her. She also plays Norman Bates' mom in Psycho 4, so that was nice to see her return to horror in that one.
Margot Kidder as well is great in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I forget I don't know what her character's name is in the movie, but I loved her in this movie. Olivia's great though. Like, I mean, we think about it, she was really, other than Marilyn Burns in Texas Chainsaw, I mean, she was one of the original final girls, so to speak, before the final girl was what it was, before it became popularized by Halloween, right?
Yep, exactly. And I honestly, like, I know this movie directly, correct me if I'm wrong, Will, but this movie heavily influenced Halloween.
It did. And I think Carpenter has kind of pointed that out in some aspects. I mean, Carpenter, obviously, like, he takes a lot of credit for Halloween and how influential that was, but it's hard to deny, I think, that, Psycho and Black Christmas more specifically, just because, Psycho was much, much earlier in terms of its time frame when it was released. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely an inspiration for Halloween. As far as like I guess we could say, it's funny because movies like Black Christmas kind of planted the seed for what a slasher movie or what slashers would become. And Halloween kind of took that and kind of presented it to a much more, I guess we could say, a bigger audience, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right. And Black Christmas was, from what I remember, like when they initially released Black Christmas, because it is a Canadian movie, as you talked about, I think it was titled differently upon release in the US. It was like Silent Night, Deadly Night or something like that, or Evil Night, I think, something along those lines. But you can correct me if I'm wrong, because it had like 3 different titles. So I don't know how successful it was.
They had 3 titles. It had Silent Night, Evil Night in the United States, and retitled Stranger in the House for television screenings.
For TV. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I was curious how much influence it had upon its initial release, right? And that is where kind of like I'm not knowledgeable in terms of how well it did initially. But yeah, we can definitely say it was an influential, film in terms of a precursor for, Carpenter's work with Halloween.
Yeah, and the score in it is amazing. Some of the kills, even today, and the way that it happens will make you go, damn, you know what I mean? Like, it was very raunchy for that time. Definitely, I think it falls just alongside of where Texas Chainsaw, we've talked about this before, where it's a lot of implied violence, right? As much as you remember it being violent, I even would say that like on-screen violence is a little bit more in this one than what you kind of get in Texas Chainsaw, because that's a lot of implied violence. Yeah. So Black Christmas, from every the moment it starts rolling, it's a whodunit, it's this, it's that. And then, like we were talking about, special shout out to the 2006 remake that has Katie Cassidy, I believe is her name. She played the Black Canary in the CW Arrow. That's the biggest thing I remember her from. But she's one of the main characters. And I think that's one of those ones, and I'm glad it's getting a second wind. So I think it is one of those ones that took everything that the original did and it made its own identity, and it did it well enough. Does it get to the bar that I think Black Christmas hits? No, but I found it enjoyable amongst the sea of 2000 horror remakes and stuff that we got. I think it sits a lot higher than most of the other things that we were getting at that time, because I've always referred to this, that the 2000s is the darkest period for horror. Like, I will argue that all day. Like, it's just, that's the dark ages for horror.
I agree.
And so also on this one, did you want us to go into underrated next, or do you want to do that next? I'll go
That's
around
up to you guys. I mean, I want to just mention Bob Clark. I'm positive. I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure he did Porky's. I don't know if you guys have seen Porky's, for people that are interested in some of his other movies. And he actually did A Christmas Story.
Christmas Story.
It's funny to see that trajectory, and we're going to talk about Christmas Story, I think, a little bit, but it's just funny to see that, because he started with, not started with Black Christmas. It wasn't his first film, but to go from a movie like Black Christmas and then to come full circle with an endearing kind of, heartfelt comedy like Christmas Story. That's interesting to see that trajectory, right?
Yeah, and one of his first theatrical release, he had some short films, was Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, which is out on 4K.
Oh, I forget that he did that. I totally forgot he did that. He's
had probably the most varied filmography, and like I wasn't a fan of that movie. I was excited when I first watched it. But check out this movie by Bob Clark. Also, A Christmas Story. If you're curious about the roots of the person who gave you not even a cult classic, but an American classic, a worldwide classic at this point, check that out. And then, so I'll go ahead and throw out my underrated one. This is actually a newer one, not even going that far back. And I just wanted to give this movie, it's 5 minutes of fame, but Christmas, Bloody Christmas. And I kind of want to, have either of you guys seen that one?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I watched that actually. When did I see that? It was sometime last year, around the holiday last year. I checked that out. I saw that on Shudder. I think it premiered on Shudder. I could be wrong.
Yep. It's got a 4K. Fun. Did you know that?
I didn't know it had a 4K at all, to be honest.
German media book. That's how I got it. I didn't know it was on Shudder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I imported that and I watched it on Christmas Day last year. And all I really want to say about this, without going into, because I've found people I've talked to about this movie with, that the perfect analogy is, if you're a Futurama fan listening, the evil Santa in that movie, give him a live action movie. And that's what this movie is. It is literally Robo Santa. From Futurama, just messing everything up. And it's a horror movie. It definitely has some pacing issues, like the first act, there's parts of it I really could care less about, but the second act, and especially the last 10 minutes of it, just got me. I wanted to give that movie a special shout out. It's really good. It's really fun. It's not that serious. It's just Santa going around and just messing up anybody that comes in his line of sight. So, it's really, really good. I don't know who directed that one.
It was actually, and the only reason I know this is because I saw one of his other movies, not realizing it was the same director. It's a guy named Joe. I believe his name is Joe Begos. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. But he directed a movie, a vampire film, a modern vampire movie that I love, called Bliss. Not obviously not a Christmas film, but if anybody's interested in his filmography, I really enjoyed Bliss. I enjoyed Christmas, Bloody Christmas. It was fun. I had fun with it. But I like Bliss better. I think Bliss is the better film. I don't want to compare the two because they're totally different, but just technically overall, I think Bliss was better executed. But yeah, if you're interested in Joe Begos, Christmas, Bloody Christmas, I would definitely recommend that as well. And then if you're in for something completely out of I know it's out of theme, but Bliss, check that out if you guys get a chance to. I really enjoyed that one.
Oh, and I'll shout out another movie he did. I was just looking, VFW. Very fun.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, very fun. Not Christmas
right
related.
now, bro. I haven't seen any of these.
It's all good.
VFW you can get for religiously about $5-6 on 4K.
Oh, really?
It's always on sale. Yeah, it's really? Stephen Lang, the guy who played
Stephen Lang was
I've seen the trailer for this movie.
Yeah,
Stephen Lang.
Yeah,
also,
Don't Breathe.
He's a really great actor. He's actually I wish we could see him in some like beefier roles. I think he's great.
Yeah, shout out that movie. And it's one of those one location type of movies, almost kind of like Night of the Living Dead, a little bit more claustrophobic than that. But yeah, great non-Christmas related shout out since you brought it up, because I didn't know he did that. Yeah, he's 2 for 2 on the movies I've seen him do. But yeah, those are going to be like the ones I feel like that's one of my favorites. Again, my all-time favorite Christmas movie is Gremlins. That's in my top 5 movies of all time, maybe top 10 depending on if something breaks it out. But Black Christmas is second in that category, and I wanted to spread some love and cheer about Christmas, Bloody Christmas, because it's just dumb fun. Great effects, everything about that. So that's what I wanted to throw out there for mine.
The score in that's the soundtrack in that movie is pretty fun too, from what I remember. It's got you got a little bit of heavy metal in there, and I think he has some electronic, kind of electronic music, like synth as well, which is pretty cool. So I remember enjoying that.
Yeah, it was great.
You want to go next, or you want me to take it from here?
I'll go next, man. So my pick for my top Christmas movie is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yeah,
Chase. That's my. I watch that movie pretty much religiously every Christmas. I'll watch it 2 or 3 times every Christmas. We're actually going to watch it today.
Nice.
It's just. I think it's the perfect blend of raunchy kind of humor, adult humor mixed with family humor in a weird way. It's there's a lot of adult humor in the movie, but there's also a lot of heartwarming kind of moments too, for just if families want to watch the movie. But it's just so freaking funny, dude. There's so many moments in that movie that I still laugh at today. I was telling Will before we were rolling about the old lady doing the Pledge of Allegiance during the instead of saying grace. There's the moments with the neighbors. There's just so many freaking hilarious moments in that movie that I think are still, a lot of movies kind of maybe lose their charm over time, or when it's a different kind of period in time, the humor kind of changes. But I think with this one, man, it's just been a consistent thing. It's what is it, 30, 40 years old now? I'd imagine. I don't know what year it came out. 89,
something like that.
Yeah,
I
so
love the gag with the gag with the neighbors in that movie is great because they just kind of build on that.
Oh, dude, they just trash on those neighbors the whole movie, and it has what's her face as one of the neighbors from Seinfeld.
Julia.
I can never say her name. I always butcher it. She's in there. You have Randy Quaid is in there, who plays
Randy Quaid's awesome in that movie.
Yeah, dude, he's hilarious in that movie. And Chevy Chase is hysterical as always. But it's just this perfect blend to me of just this adult humor that, that if you're watching it with kids, the adults will kind of smirk and laugh and the kids don't know what's going on. But then, there's a lot of funny stuff for the kids too when they're watching it. I actually showed it to my little cousin before, and he's dying laughing. You know what I mean? Just a freaking scene with him going down the sled where he puts that weird oil on the sled and he's riding down the mountain and shoots into the Walmart, and it's stupid stuff like that, man. It's just over the top. It's just so ridiculous. And then
you have the 4K, right?
I have it, but I don't have it. I know my Secret Santa got it for me, so we'll just leave it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's dude, it's just this perfect blend to me, and I watch it every year. And it's always I look forward to watching it every and I've seen it hundreds of times at this point, but I always look forward to watching it just because it's just so freaking hysterical. So that'd be my top pick. And I think we were talking about hot take too. I don't know if it's a hot take, but I kind of like this one more than just the regular vacation movie. I think it's way funnier. I think the pacing's better. It's more rewatchable. Yeah. I don't know what the community thinks as a whole, but I like Christmas Vacation more than just Vacation. I like Vacation. It's a funny movie, but I think the humor from Christmas Vacation just kind of transcends decades a little bit better. So yeah, that's my top movie, 100%. My honorable mention is what we're calling it. It has to be Bad Santa. Bad Santa is, I mean, that one's just full raunchy, messed up humor. But dude, it is just so well done. You got Billy Bob Thornton in there, Bernie Mac. I always forget who plays the dude who plays the elf. What's his name?
Oh God, he's been in so many. He was in that movie Little Man, wasn't
Tony
he?
Cox? I think it's
Is that his name?
Cox. I think so. Yeah.
Oh, I love him. I could be wrong. He's so good.
Let me see.
And you've seen have you seen Bad Santa 2?
Yeah, I've seen, and Bad Santa 2 is actually pretty. I like it. I don't know what people thought about it, but
it was good.
I thought it was pretty funny. It's not as good as the first one for sure, but it's still a pretty funny movie.
I want to throw this out there while you're talking about Bad Santa. That's one of my biggest 4K sins. And that's why I sometimes, whenever I can tell that something's going to be limited, I saw that on the shelf for 4K for a couple of months. Now it's almost impossible to find. I can't find it anywhere.
Is that in production?
Yeah, it just went off shelves, and then you can probably get it on eBay for like $40-$50, but I mean I don't want to pay that much.
Yeah, of course not. But it's no one's gonna
Yeah.
pay that. I mean, maybe I don't know. I mean, there's some movies obviously I would pay that much money for. I don't know if Bad Santa is one of them for a 4K. I mean, the Blu-ray's fine. I have the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And I think it's sufficient. But like, if you just want a full raunchy, screwed up, movie, Bad Santa's the one. And then the kid, the dynamic with Billy Bob Thornton and the kid in that movie, it's just
so good.
It's so good,
great.
dude. He's just a horrible role model throughout the whole freaking movie. It's so bad, but it ironically has like a few specks of like heartwarming moments. Like I remember, I haven't seen it in like 2 years, but like at the end when I think he gives him a letter when he's like recovering from the hospital, and just that whole monologue. It's like it's so atrocious, but it's like hysterical at the same time. But yeah, dude, it's a really good movie. If you guys haven't checked it out, Bad Santa, I highly recommend it. And the sequel's solid too. Did the sequel get a 4K chase or no?
Yeah, that's the one. The first one didn't get a 4K. It was 2 that got a 4K when it came out.
Oh, really? That got a 4K. Yeah.
If the first one got a 4K, I wouldn't have let that sit on the shelf for 2 months. I would have bought it day one.
Yeah.
It's interesting they went for the sequel, not the original.
Yeah, I was hoping for the original.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten that one yet, though. I mean, maybe that's something we'll see next year, the next couple of years, hopefully, because I'd buy that.
Yeah,
100%. And
a nice steelbook.
Bernie Mac's in it, dude, and I love Bernie Mac.
I forget that John Ritter's in that as well, Gabe.
Yes,
and
he is.
I think you're right. The it's Tony Cox that plays the elf. The elf. I think his name's Marcus in the movie. I'm trying to remember. But.
Yes, dude.
Yeah,
Tony
Marcus
Cox is
Skidman.
freaking hilarious, dude. Freaking hysterical. Him and Bernie Mac are freaking hilarious. Billy Bob Thornton's hilarious. The kid's funny. I mean, it's just this raunchy but like heartwarming movie at the same time, and it's so much fun to watch. So that'd probably be my honorable mention for sure. I think it was just really unique when it came out because you didn't see something that was just so I guess like Christmas themed, but just so screwed up to watch at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, since you both like Christmas Vacation so much, a movie I've always considered to be like not a loose remake, but a loose copycat of Christmas Vacation is Christmas with the Cranks. Have you guys ever seen that?
I have seen that. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've seen it though. I saw it when it came out in theaters, and I saw I think I have the DVD somewhere. Maybe, I'm not sure. That one's pretty funny. I like it. I don't think it reaches the level of Christmas Vacation, but I mean that's the one with Tom Allen, right?
Well, yeah, Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. I like that one a lot.
I think Dan Aykroyd's in it as well, doesn't he?
Yep.
Isn't he like I forget who he plays.
The annoying neighbor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Tim Allen fan, but yeah, I think the dynamic between the three of them worked really well in that movie. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if that's considered like a favorite, but yeah, I don't think I watched that. It's been years since I've seen it. It's probably been like 3 or 4 years, but I remember really enjoying it.
Yeah, I try to watch it every year. I like it a lot. It was really good. I just wanted to shout that out because I remember seeing that in theaters. What was it? Incredibles. I think Incredibles was in the theater, and I wanted to go see
memories. Yeah, it was in the theaters. Yeah, you're right.
It was opening up around the time Incredibles was out, and so my family went to go see. We walked past Incredibles. I remember getting so upset. Then I had to go watch Cranks, but I ended up having.
I think the same thing happened with me. We were like going to the movie theater, and I was asking my parents to watch Incredibles, and they were like, "No, we're gonna watch Christmas." And I was like, "Really? I don't want to go see Christmas with the Cranks." And I don't know what year was that movie, dude. Was that like
2004?
Like, yeah,
2004, yeah. And I was just kind of pissed because they wanted to go see this Christmas with the Cranks, and I mean, it's a funny movie though. I like it now, but yeah, you just brought back a whole like wave of nostalgia because I remember the same thing, dude. The same experience. I was just so peeved that they wouldn't take me to go see Incredibles.
Yeah. 2004. Yeah, that's crazy that we had a similar experience because I remember begrudgingly sitting down to watch this movie. I was like, no one cares about this movie. The incredible superheroes, superpowers. So I want to go next door and watch that. And I remember having an actually good time.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I like that movie a lot. And you don't see like that. It's hard kind of encapsulating that dynamic of just kind of like, and there's a lot of movies that try to do it, but they just don't do it well. Just the whole dynamic of like a screwed up family, right? That's just but trying to capture the comedy and that heartwarming part of it. It's super tough, and I think Christmas Vacation does it perfectly. You have so many like standout family members that all have their moments, and and at the end of it, it's like super heartwarming.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
those are my two movies for sure. And then we were gonna talk about Christmas Story. I might leave that for the end. Maybe we'll do a hot take.
Yeah, we'll talk
Christmas
about it.
Story. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Will? What are your picks, man?
My first pick is going to be a movie that I've kind of grown up with. My parents have had the VHS of it forever. It was one of those bigger case VHS cases.
Something like Titanic style?
What exactly they call
Or the plastic?
Yeah, similar to that. The plastic, like the bigger plastic case. And that is A Christmas Carol from the mid 80s. I want to say it was 1984 with George C. Scott. It's not a perfect movie, but for me, it's like it's definitely more of a nostalgia trip. I just think the performances in that movie are just fantastic. I mean, George C. Scott is one of those actors that I've seen him in so few things, but the few things that I have seen him in, he just does an absolutely fantastic job.
Yeah.
Exorcist 3, to shout that out there, if people haven't seen that yet, check that out. Obviously a totally different film, but I think A Christmas Carol, the thing that separates it from, we all know the Charles Dickens novella, we've heard the story.
Yeah.
It's been interpreted so many times, but this movie always stuck with me because of not only the performances. You have George C. Scott, and I think I'm trying to remember the other gentleman's name. He plays Bob Cratchit.
Frank Finley?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think Frank Finley plays Jacob Marley, the ghost of Jacob Marley.
David Warner.
Yeah.
David Warner?
It's David Warner.
Yep.
David Warner as Bob Cratchit in this is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The performances are really what carries the movie, but I think it was directed by a guy named Clive Donner, who I didn't know this. I was doing some research on it the other day. He actually served as I think the sole editor on the original. It was like a movie called Scrooge. I think it was from the 50s. So he was pretty versed in the material by the time this movie came around. And I didn't know that it was originally a made-for-TV movie. When it initially premiered, it was made for TV. It did not get a theatrical release. It was made for British television. But the thing I like about it is just the interpretation of that's the thing. Like when I talk to people about A Christmas Carol, everybody always they always talk about what their favorite interpretation is regarding like the Christmas spirits, like the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. And I think that this movie in particular just sets a tone that is it's just so much more eerie than all the other interpretations I've seen, especially with the Ghost of Christmas Future. When I was a kid, I don't know if you guys we can't pull up an image of it, but if you Google the Ghost of Christmas Future from this movie, it's creepy. It's horrifying. It scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. I just think the interpretation is so well done. All the spirits are handled beautifully. And this movie has some genuinely scary, unsettling moments in it. I remember in particular when the Ghost of Christmas Present, he's taking Ebenezer on a tour of it's somewhere in the city of London, and they're underneath the bridge, and there's like a beggar nearby, and it's obviously a family that's homeless, and it's just this horrible just tragedy of a scene where he's watching this family talk about how they don't have enough money to buy food, and the beggar is just talking to his wife and children about how he just wanted them to have something for Christmas. And I forget what exactly it is they have. It's like a loaf of bread, and they're just dirty, and it's horrifying. But there's a moment where the Ghost of Christmas Present kind of opens his robe, and you see these two kind of like malnourished children standing there. And it's this whole play on Ebenezer where he says, these are your children, I think it's called their greed and ignorance or something like that. And I just remember that scene so vividly. It just sticks with me, just seeing those children's faces. They're just, dirty and malnourished. And it's just one of those scenes that's just so effective. And it has a few scenes like that in this movie where they're just, again, they're generally just unsettling. And I think that's the beauty of this movie, is that it has such a significant message. It nails the message of the novel perfectly. I think the ending is one of the most heartfelt endings I've seen in a Christmas film. Just that transition from how Ebenezer is in the beginning to how he is at the end of the movie. And again, that has a lot to do with George C. Scott's performance. He's just a fantastic actor. We're able to see that trajectory and that character arc displayed so perfectly in this film. But it's really those eerie moments that you see with these spirits that really drive the point home that, especially with the Ghost of Christmas Future, it's just such an unsettling image. I just remember the silhouette in the scene where it's revealed. He's underneath a bridge or something like that, and you see the spirit standing there, and they backlight it, and they have fog, across the ground. Again, scenes that are stuck in my head from when I was a kid. So I would recommend that. That's my main pick. Definitely check that out. I believe this movie is on Blu-ray. I actually don't own this on Blu-ray, but I was looking into seeing what the options are for buying it because I still have the VHS most likely upstairs somewhere. But I would definitely try to check this out.
Another shameless Tubi plug, by the way. It's streaming free on Tubi.
It is.
If Will's monologue got you going.
Dude, we need to get a
So
sponsorship
guys,
with Tubi.
just please check. Yeah, I would highly recommend. I just think, and I'm not one, like I've seen a few different interpretations of A Christmas Carol now, and I've seen the play live like a handful of times. But I always just come back to this movie. I watch it every year. I get the VHS player upstairs. And although it's not the best, that's why I'm probably actually going to go ahead and pull the trigger and try to buy this on Blu-ray. But yeah, for those of you guys that are listening, please check it out on Tubi. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it is on Blu-ray. I'm looking at it now. I guess it came out in 2010, and that's a solid pick, Will. Just because I remember it had a big impact on me too. I think I saw it when I was like 9 or 10 years old. We had read the Dickens story, and then our teacher showed us the movie in class. And dude, I just remember those scenes that you're talking about. It just leaves this kind of like really like a significant like emotional resonance on you. The imagery in that movie is like super strong. You know what I mean? The way they portray everything. So that one for sure, it left an impact on me when I saw it. I remember. That's the interpretation I always think when someone says Christmas Carol. That's where my mind always kind of reverts back to is that interpretation of it, just because it's just so well done. But that's a solid pick, dude. I really, really like that one.
Yeah, and I do want to say a shout out to the set design and the atmosphere in the movie as well, because obviously I was talking about how this movie has just an eeriness to it that really kind of sticks with you. And that's, again, credit to that, because the atmosphere in certain scenes is just so well done. But yeah, I mean, if you want to see great performances, and I don't give enough credit to, what's his name, David Warner, I think you guys mentioned, as Bob Cratchit. The performances are just so convincing. They really embody the characters. It's like when I think of the book after having read the novella and seeing the play live, as I said a handful of times now, when I think of what this book would look like as a movie, this is the movie. I just feel like they embody the characters so well. George C. Scott, David Warner. I mean, everyone else in the movie is fantastic. The two people that play the spirits, I should say the three spirits. I don't know who plays the spirit of Christmas Future or how they even did that. Because I remember in the movie, it's so scary. It's creepy. He's got like these long, like bony fingers. It's creepy, man. It's
like pointing.
It really gets under my skin. What's that?
Edward Woodward.
Edward Woodward plays Christmas Future.
Yep, based on what I'm seeing.
Edward Woodward.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they all do a fantastic job.
He was in The Wicker Man.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, in the 1973 Wicker Man.
The original Wicker Man?
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to pose this question to you because you said that you've seen all of I'm assuming a majority. There's so many interpretations, like you were saying, but have you seen the Jim Carrey one from around that same time you guys were talking about the Blu-ray release? Yeah,
I've seen the Jim Carrey one. I like the Jim Carrey one. I mean, to me, it's decent. Like, it's decent. It's been so long since I've seen that movie. And I don't know where that would be, but I'd be curious to like revisit some of them because I've seen the Jim Carrey one. I haven't seen the 50s version, Scrooge, that apparently, Clive Donner worked on as an editor. But I just more recently watched, and I don't want to necessarily talk about this movie, but Scrooged with Bill Murray. I mean, the story has been interpreted a bunch of. Scrooge was good. I would recommend that. I mean, it's not up there with like Christmas Vacation, like Gabe was saying. I mean, in my book, I would definitely put it in probably my top 10. I just really like Bill Murray. I think he does a fantastic job in that movie. But yeah, Scrooge was great. I thought the transfer was great. They did a lot of interesting stuff with like practical effects in that movie. So check that out if you guys have it. I don't know what it's
I haven't
going for
gotten it
right now. I don't know if that price has come down a little bit, but they did come out with the 4K standard release not too long ago. I think November.
So is it
correctly.
Just because you got me curious? So is it its own version of A Christmas Carol, or
Scrooge is essentially Scrooge takes the plot of A Christmas Carol and it applies it to Bill Murray plays. He works for this toy company and he's like a high executive in this toy company and he essentially embodies the character of Ebenezer. He's not I think his name's Frank in the movie, if I forget off the top of my head, but he's not. We don't have the same character names, but pretty much all the major plot points are present. So it's just it's like
Let's
an
check that out.
80s interpretation of that story, which is pretty fun. So, and that's cool. I mean, that'd be a cool like couple movies to check out because you have just the seriousness and the drama of the 1984 Christmas Carol with George C. Scott, and then Scrooge with Bill Murray. It's just like a comedic take, a more lighthearted comedic take. But there was some. I will say it has some moments where there is a lot of heartfelt emotion present too. So I enjoyed it for that reason alone.
And the Jim Carrey one to me, it was good, but it wasn't. It came around the time I remember. I think Avatar was coming out of that time.
Yeah,
3D IMAX thing was like super popular, and I remember seeing an IMAX 3D, and it was a beautiful movie to look at, but it was just like kind of
it was draggy.
It was exactly. It was kind of boring in some sections because I think I love Jim Carrey and everything that he's in. He's a freaking fantastic actor, and the voice acting. He like nailed it, but it's just like the movie itself, like the pacing of it was kind of dull. It was beautiful to look at, but it's not one that I kind of like, I haven't seen it in years, but I don't pop it back in just to watch it.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, they had kind of like the animation style like stuck with me as well. Like I remember visually, like it was easy to kind of separate from other films at the time in terms of the animation style. But yeah, I mean, I'll have to check that out again. I think that movie's worth a revisit, right? Because I'd be curious to see how it holds up for me. Because that was like, you guys were saying around the time Avatar came out. So what was that, 2009? I mean, it's already been well over a decade. So I'd be curious to check that out again.
And it's weird how some of these movies, we talk about so many movies, right? They're like from the 70s, 80s, 90s. And it's just interesting watching them 10 years later because you might have a different interpretation of it. And who knows, maybe that one is actually really solid. Maybe I do need to watch it again. But I remember sitting in the theater when I saw it, it was just kind of like what Chase said, draggy. It just had some parts where it's kind of slow. But
is that Robert Zemeckis that directed that? Because I mean, he's usually pretty like I'm trying to remember some of the other stuff that he's done. I'm pretty sure he let me look that up real quick.
While you're looking that up, I wanted to correct myself real quick. So I said that where's his name? So I did say that Edward Woodward, the Wicker Man 73, he actually plays Ghost of Christmas Present. So it's actually Michael Carter that does Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, also known as famously as Bib Fortuna from Star Wars.
No way. Okay.
No way. Yeah. That's why I wanted to correct myself. Yeah. And that's cool. Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah. I just saw a giant Bib Fortuna and I was like, whoa. Cool.
It was Zemeckis that did A Christmas Carol, but I mean, Back to the Future. I mean, he's done. I think he did an interpretation of, or did he? I don't know if he directed or produced. Well, no, because Pinocchio was what's his name, Del Toro, right?
Yeah,
the one 2022.
Yeah,
I think Zemeckis served as I thought I remember seeing his name.
He did.
He
did do the Disney one. So there was the Del Toro one, and then the Disney one that got kind of
it was so weird, wasn't it?
Reviews because it had Tom Hanks in it and everything like that, and people just didn't like it. Yeah. So
so weird to release two of those in 1 year, right?
Yeah, that was kind of odd.
Yeah,
but he's a solid director though, because I know he did Flight, he did Polar Express,
Used Cars,
like Will said, Used Cars. So he's had some solid movies, but he's had some weird ones too, like Beowulf. I remember being excited to see Beowulf because that's one of my favorite Shakespearean plays. And it was kind of boring. But he's had his he's dipped his toe in a lot of like animation.
Oh, he did that Witches. I didn't know that. That one with That one that like really didn't do well because of the pandemic at the time.
Oh,
with Anne Hathaway.
Yeah. Oh yeah, huh?
And it ended up on Max.
I'm looking at his filmography right now. And Beowulf isn't Shakespeare. My bad. It's not. I thought it was.
It's just an epic, right?
Yeah, it's just like a German
an
epic.
epic story.
Will, what is your follow-up?
Yes. So and I want to apologize to the listeners. I know we kind of got off on some different movies there, but we kind of just, I mean, hey, it happens, man. But my lesser, and I don't want to say lesser known because I'm sure that this movie clearly has a following. I just don't know how much notoriety it actually has. I haven't really talked to anybody or have heard this movie mentioned on our Discord or on Reddit communities, but it's a movie I want to say from like 2009 or 2010, around the same time of the Christmas Carol we just mentioned with Jim Carrey. But it's a movie called Rare Exports, and the subtitle is A Christmas Tale. And this is actually a Finnish action horror comedy. I mean, dude, you could call it a fantasy movie. There's so many subgenres that this dips its toe into. I remember seeing this, I think it was on Shudder several years ago. In fact, I think it was one of the first movies I watched when I first got a subscription to Shudder, when I first heard about it. But it's essentially about, I'm assuming, from what I remember, it's either an American or a British. They're like a research team that are trying to, they're drilling in these mountains it's somewhere in Finland, and they discover this. I guess you could say it's like this. I don't want to call it an export, but it's essentially this giant crate, from what I remember. I don't want to. Here's the thing: I don't want to spoil this movie because I think the plot of this movie is so well done. I think the reveal of what's actually happening, but once it clicks with you, is just ingenious. Like the way that the story progresses, the way that everything ends up. I mean, the way it, just the story arc itself is really well done. But I just want to I do highly recommend this. I think it was based on, I want to say it was based on either a previous film or a short story that the director did. And I'm almost positive. I think the director's name is Jamari Hilander. I don't want to butcher his name, but he actually directed Sisu. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie.
It was Stephen Lang, right?
Yeah.
Sisu.
Was that Stephen Lang?
In Sisu?
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
No, I think
no, it's
Sisu,
not.
I don't think it's Stephen Lang because I'm pretty sure
Drama
Sisu is also I don't know if it's a Finnish film, but Sisu got a lot of attention because it was similar in style to like John Wick, and in fact, I think they actually used that as part of the marketing.
The trailers, yeah, like when you saw John Wick, this was like one of the first movies that popped up.
So, yeah, I don't know if it's the same director as Sisu, but I know I think it might have been from the same team, like producers, so to speak. But as far as Rare Exports is concerned, yeah, man, I just think it's a great concept, very well executed. So I would highly recommend people check that out. And again, I want to talk more about the plot, but I don't want to give too much away because I think it's let's just say it's a really interesting spin on Santa Claus. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So, but
you've got me interested.
I'm intrigued too because I searched up some images for the film and it didn't spoil anything, but I'm kind of seeing what he's talking about. I'm like, this looks really intriguing.
Yeah. I'd say the only critique I have, I mean, I don't want to get too much into it, but the only critique I have is that it kind of starts off with a focus on like the children in the movie, and it tends to kind of veer, I guess I don't want to say it gets away from that, but it tends to lose some of that focus as the movie, progresses, as it kind of opens up, as the story gets opened up. So, but that's really it. I mean, dude, I just had a fun time with this movie. And like I said, it dips its toe into all these different genres. And I find that was just a really interesting blend of genres that they were able to throw in there. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a scary film, but just a really great concept that I think was, for the most part, well executed. So, And again, a really, really creative approach to Santa Claus and the North Pole and that whole operation. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm
So,
intrigued.
yeah,
I'm
that
probably
would-
gonna check this one out. This one looks pretty dope.
I don't know if it's still on streaming. Let me look that up real quick
Is it on our faithful Tubi?
on our Tubi. I know we talk
Maybe.
about Tubi so much on this podcast that it's like,
I mean, it's such a solid thing. Oh yeah, it is on there.
there you go, man.
I just searched it up. Well, let me see if it lets me play it or if it's like one of those. Yeah, bro, it is on Tubi. Tubi's the best.
Okay, so
man.
yeah, I would check that out for sure. I would add that to your definitely add that to your watch list.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just like I said, looking at the pictures and hearing you talk about it, it looks really, really intriguing. I'm kind of getting what the concept might be, but I don't know for sure from these pictures. But it looks really, really cool, and I like that the kind of like what you said. It looks like a blend of like action slash like I don't know if it's like horror or what, but just
It's I mean,
the blend of it.
there are
is pretty
horror
cool.
elements to it. I would say, I mean, I'd say it's more of like an action, like fantasy film, like almost like an adventure film. But yeah, there's definitely some horror element. Again, it didn't really. There were never any moments in the movie that like scared me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's horror elements in there, and you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. But yeah, that would be my kind of under the radar pick, so to speak, for lack of a better word. But yeah, that would be
That's a
my
good
pick.
one.
Do we have any other movies that you guys want to shout out quick that are on your watch lists leading up to Christmas? Because what do we have? Like we got under a week. It's under a week away. Anything else that you think might be worth throwing out there just for people to check out?
Holiday themed movies or
Yeah, holiday themed. I mean, Christmas film. Christmas themed movies. Anything that you guys are haven't watched yet that are on your watch list. In addition to the movies we mentioned, just to throw some other names out there.
I can't think of any off the top of my head. I mean, I have the one that we were going to talk about that's like played way too much in my opinion and is completely overhyped. And
well, now that you
But-
said that, let's just take this opportunity because I
let's
mean
take
now
this
that you
opportunity
open that up,
I'm going to be forthcoming with you guys and just say that Christmas Carol is it's kind of boring and it's not my movie.
Christmas
Let's
Story,
just say that.
right?
Or Christmas Story. I'm sorry. We were just talking about Christmas Carol. A Christmas
Okay.
Story is I think it's overhyped. And I don't think it's the movie's fault though. I think we were talking about this a little bit before rolling that it's definitely not the movie's fault. There are definitely some charming scenes in that movie. And you know, I do like watching it sometimes, but overall, like I think it's just been played so much to the point where it's like, especially like on Christmas Day, where like some channels will play it just exclusively for 24 hours nonstop. It's just been,
TNT.
like, TNT.
Was that TNT or TBS?
To death, man. It's just like nothing's like it doesn't have the impact on me anymore. You know what I mean? And I think the difference is it's like there's a difference between me watching Christmas Vacation 100 times, right? Because I'm kind of like electing to do that and sit down with the family or my wife and watch it and like, you know, have a good time. But when it's like in the background, like while you're wrapping gifts and in the, you know, every store, like I'll go in a store and they have it on their little televisions and stuff playing it, or like, you know, references on the radio. I'm just like, God, I'm done with this movie. I can't anymore. And it sucks because I want to like it. And there are those charming elements. I think there was a point where I liked it. You know what I mean? But it's just gotten played to death, dude. And that's where I'm at with Christmas Story. It's one of those movies I want to like, but I feel like it, and it's not even the movie's fault. It's just kind of like how as a culture we've just like, I don't know, we've beaten it to death. Like I can't watch it anymore. It does nothing for me.
I'm
Did you guys see the
curious.
sequel?
No, we never
Oh,
saw
it
this.
was-
Yeah, that
there
more
was a
recently, right?
sequel. Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I was.
Last
You
year.
know how I am, bro. It's like, you know, Christmas. As soon as they said that Christmas Story sequel, I'm like, I don't care. I really don't.
It was
Was
decent.
it good?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it was better executed than what you would expect something, 20, 30 years later to be in that realm. Ralph's I forget the actor's name, but Ralph's actor's like narration of everything does it really like good service, you know, like to your point, like Christmas Story, like I was a big fan of it, but it's just played like I couldn't have said it better. It's just played so much. It's like that song that you like for the first couple of weeks, but in a much more bigger time span. And then every time you turn on the radio, it's playing that song. But
That's
in this
perfect
case,
analogy.
it's for like decades on end, and you can't escape the radio. So that's kind of how it is. You know, I actually was waiting. You know how like during our overrated movies, I waited to give you a hot take. I have something that might make you guys both want to disconnect. So I don't like Elf. I do not like Elf.
Interesting. I'm not mad at that. I like Elf, but it's not like my wife always wants to put it on, and I'm kind of like, it's a fun movie. Like I like it, but I think it's overhyped. It's 100% overhyped. Yeah,
that and kind of in that same world, Polar Express is decent. I just don't understand why it has the status that it does. It's very basic, you know. I don't find it to do anything too different. It's got some good jingles and stuff like that. It's a very endearing and heartwarming story, but I don't think it deserves the cult status that it does. Like I didn't even buy that 4K. And when it comes to holiday movies, I'll pretty much buy any of them just because, like, you know, I just did. That's awesome that we're gonna get those, you know. But yeah, I skipped out. I have Elf, but I skipped out on Polar Express for sure. Plus, I just can't imagine that 4K looks good because that animation wasn't.
Was that a 2K DI or?
Yeah, it was a 2K DI.
It was upscaled, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
It was upscaled. But
I agree with both of those actually. And Polar Express is it's boring to me, kind of, to be honest with you. It's a beautiful movie to look at. You know what I mean? And I think that it's probably garnered such a cult following just because it is basic, but I think it does have like there are some pretty deep themes and interpretations of it, especially with like the I don't know what he's called, like the homeless dude that's on top of the train. During that scene, like there's like a lot of interpretations of what that is and what it means, and I think that that's probably what's garnered its cult following over the years. But it's not one that I'm like, let's watch Polar Express.
Clamoring for.
Let's watch it, guys.
No, that's fair.
I think I'm kind of the same way. I agree with you guys. Like when I think of those two movies, not so much A Christmas Story. I mean, A Christmas Story was just like such a big part of my childhood too. So at this point, I'm kind of like, okay, I'll take it, but. I mean, I'm not going to sit there for 24 hours and watch it, but with Elf and Polar Express, I actually saw Elf more recently. I think I watched that like the first weekend of December, actually. And I liked it. It definitely has a lot of funny moments, but it's not one of those movies that, and again, this is completely subjective, I guess, but it's just not one of those movies that I think of when I think of like my Christmas, like yearly Christmas watch list. It's just not one that comes to mind. And I'll say the same for Polar Express. Visually, I think it's a treat, but I don't know. It doesn't really do much else for me personally. So that's my take.
Yeah.
Those are, and one more movie that I thought of. It's the not overrated movie. This one I actually like. I completely forgot to mention it. I forgot the title of it too, which sucks. What's the third Friday movie called? Is it Friday After Next? I think, let me Google it real quick.
Oh, you're talking about
with Ice Cube, and that movie is actually pretty freaking hilarious. If you guys haven't seen that movie, honorable mention.
I've only seen the first one. I'll have to watch that one. Yeah, I've only seen the first Friday.
So freaking funny. I mean, I love all the Friday movies; they're pretty hysterical. But that one, if you want another kind of raunchy, kind of humorous Christmas movie that just for adults, that's another honorable mention too. But like, and I'm looking through this list of like Christmas movie. There are a lot of like overrated.
I'll throw one out there, and it just recently got a 4K, so it's probably not underrated enough. But I didn't see a lot of people haul it in the Reddit or Discord. I like Office Christmas Party. That movie's fun. If you guys haven't seen that, like, it's not great, but it was way better than I thought it would be. It had some really, really dumb moments in there, like just, like the dumb humor, a series I want to shout out, at least the very first one. I don't like any of them after that. Silent Night, Deadly Night. First one's great. Second one's one of the worst movies you'll ever see. And third one's decent. Fourth one, fifth one, decent at best.
Are you talking about
then
part
Jack
2
Frost.
with the garbage day?
The clip show. Yeah, the clip show.
Yeah.
Silent Night, Deadly Night, part 2 clip show edition.
Yeah.
Because
I have that movie. I don't want to say I like it. I guess we could say like, yeah, there's definitely moments that make me laugh out loud. And I think that's why I'm like tolerant of it.
yeah. Yeah.
But dude, I actually have, what is it?
The collection.
The Vestron. I have the Vestron video collection with like 3, 4, and 5 or whatever it is. And
Great collection.
Again, they have their moments, but overall, they're like the first one's obviously the best. I mean, the second one I'll take. Like I can watch the second one, but yeah, and those other 3, I think I've seen. I didn't watch all of them yet. Again, but I got to check them out. Maybe I'll do that this week. Check those out.
Jack Frost is good too by MVD. Those just recently got Blu-ray too.
Cool. Yeah,
Jack Frost
put out
really
the
good.
Sequel?
Yeah, I actually have it, and it's got a Miami like beach surfer. Yeah, cool. It's got a great slipcover. You haven't seen the slipcover for that? Yeah, it's got the Miami tone. Yeah, it's my favorite.
He's on the surfboard with the like icicle or whatever, like ready to stab somebody or whatever.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. That's really good.
Really, really, really fun movies. Outside of the overrated aspect of Elf, I think that's really going to be completing that portion of that list for me.
Yeah. There's definitely some, I can't. I mean, I'm looking through this list. There's so many that are solid to talk about, and some overrated ones as well. But obviously, this is all subjective, guys. Everyone's going to have their own holiday movies that they love to watch with their family, and ones that they don't like to watch. But yeah.
Oh, let me throw this out there because I think people sleep on this. I think a lot of people sleep on it, but how surprisingly good Krampus was.
Oh, Krampus was fun, man. Yeah. You know what? It's funny. I was going to pick that one before I picked, but then I remembered Rare Exports. Like Krampus was going to be my second more, I guess not underrated, so to speak, but I guess lesser known pick. That was going to be that one, but figured I'd go with Rare Exports. Yeah, I had fun with that movie. I have it. I own it.
Yeah. The Scream Factory 4K.
Scream Factory. Yeah.
Fantastic transfer. Yeah.
Really good job with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, A Christmas Horror Story. Have you guys seen that? The anthology.
Christmas.
That one's good.
Story. Hold on.
I will say, because at this thing, it's like I know people like this, and maybe you guys can piggyback off of this because I'm interested to see if you guys encounter this as well. I know certain people that refuse to watch a Christmas themed horror film around
That's
Christmas. Weird. They just won't do it. They won't do it. It's got to be all lighthearted, fun, heartwarming,
joyful, family kind of stuff.
They refuse to watch anything remotely like outside of that framework, in terms of the genre. They won't watch horror. They won't watch Christmas horror.
It's like, like thing that we saw Thanksgiving, and I mean it's like I feel like it's just a genre. I mean, you can take the Christmas theme and apply it to any genre you want, and you can make a solid movie out of it. That's my take on it. But I've never seen like a sci-fi Christmas movie. That'd be interesting to see.
But I would
Star Wars
watch
holiday
it.
special.
Oh, there you go.
I think the horror films are the most fun. I mean, you don't have to approach it and take them seriously. They're just different. But I mean, I think you could still have plenty of fun with them, and a lot of them are, there's certain aspects of some of them that are, like, you can tell they approached it with somewhat of a self-awareness too, which makes it more enjoyable. So I wanted to mention that because I was talking to a friend and more recently, and I recommended, I think we were talking about Krampus. I was like, yeah, you should check out Krampus, the Scream Factory. And he's like, nah, dude, I'm all set. I don't watch horror around Christmas. And I was like, all right.
Watch it around New Year's then. Get your kick. Will, to answer your question, because you did ask, what are we going to be watching? Probably around this time for Christmas, I'll be watching. I'm definitely going to check out Rare Exports. That sounds awesome. But the Mean One, I didn't know that it existed until around the time that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey came out.
Blood and Honey came out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the Mean One, I'll be checking out. Which, if anybody doesn't know, it's actually Damian Howard. The same guy that plays Art the Clown and Terrifier plays the Grinch in a horror-esque take on how the Grinch stole Christmas. So it looks great. Just right up my alley for something to turn on and waste an hour and a half and just have a good time. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I'll give like a short 20-second review. Winnie the Pooh. A lot of people trash that movie, but I don't know what they were expecting. I don't know if they were expecting like $100 million budget Winnie the Pooh movie to blow their mind, but I went in there with the expectations of it being bad, and it was mediocre at worst. It was exactly what I expected it to be in the most minimal sense. So I'm excited to check out. Yeah,
a lot of hate, that movie.
It's fun. It's super fun. I mean, it had some pacing issues, but for just taking something that just entered the public domain and then doing something with it like that, I appreciate it, you know? So the mean one is definitely something on my radar. And yeah, and then shout out to everybody. I don't think there's a soul on this earth that hasn't seen the Jim Carrey How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That movie's so
that
good.
Was solid. Yeah, that's one that I watch every year too. I like that. And that's just another Jim Carrey performance. He's just great in everything that he's in, man. Even when the movie sucks, but he always gives 110%.
Easily. Yeah. Any last second shout outs from you guys? Anything else round table to go over?
No, man. I know we're gonna do our top picks of the year soon. But I don't know if there's any more releases that we're waiting on. We got
Dead Zone. Look out for Will's and I's video review of that over there on the YouTube.
We'll talk about Dead Zone. Yeah, for you guys that are listening on podcast platforms, if you haven't already, check us out on YouTube. We got some exclusive content on YouTube that are more, visual. It's more visually based, obviously. But yeah, check that out if you haven't already. We're going to be putting some more content out. And we should mention again, if we haven't, I forget if we did at the beginning of this episode, but this will be our last podcast episode for 2 weeks now, right? I think we're coming back the second weekend in January. We'll be back with this podcast. But in the meantime, if you guys are craving content, definitely check out the YouTube channel and see what we got going on over there. We're going to be posting a lot more on that as well. So just to shout that out.
Yep. Our next episode will be January 9th.
January 9th. There you go. Yeah. So mark your calendars, everybody. January 9th. Everybody will be eagerly awaiting our return.
Mark it down.
Weeks. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild, right?
Yeah. And I know I've been doing this a lot lately, but it's just wild how far everything has transcended and everything, the whole 9 yards in regards to what our first episode was like, I think literally October 1st, October 2nd. Mm-hmm. So just over 2 months, and it's bigger than everything that we ever thought. I think Gabe and I used to joke, man, we'll be happy if we get 10 listeners throughout the entire venture,
solid with that.
Yeah. So thank you to everybody. We have a lot of vocal supporters over in the server. Even some I've seen trickle over to the Reddit. So a genuine heartfelt thank you. If you're not in the server, still thank you for discovering us. Thank you for coming along the journey. It's what keeps us going. It's what keeps us motivated. The kind words, the goofy comments, everything like that makes us laugh. The comments that make us cry. The comments that make us hurt our soul. Everything right there, right? But yeah, we love doing this. We love giving you the content that you guys like, and it's just what keeps us going. So thank you so much for a great year, and look forward to all the awesome things that From Screen to Shelf is going to bring you next year as well.
2024, guys. We will see you guys then.
Later.
Thank you, everybody.